This is my M1 MacBook Air. I bought it in November 2020. And even though all of these incredible new MacBooks have come out since, I haven't upgraded and I'm still using it in 2026. And I wanted to make this video talking about why. Because I'm not a YouTuber. I work a 9-to-5 job as a cloud software consultant. So I don't care about video editing or fancy charts showing CPU performance. I'm just an average user, so let's get into it. I wanted to start with the everyday usage, like web browsing and multitasking between apps, because this is what I do most often on my MacBook. Back in my university days, I used Intel MacBooks, and without fail, they always seemed to slow down after a few days. Like, I'd get this spinning bitch ball of death, or stuff would take ages to load. I have not experienced this on the M1 MacBook Air. It seems to cope with my 2026 workflow as well as it did with my 2020 workflow. Like right now, I have anywhere from 20 to 30 web browser tabs open, in Google Chrome too, which is notorious for being a RAM hog. A different browser like Safari would be better, but I need Chrome for compatibility purposes with some of the stuff I do. I also have the Mail app, several Notion pages, Excel, and Spotify playing in the background. It all just works flawlessly, and my workflow really doesn't get more demanding than this. My memory pressure is in the yellow and I'm using a little swap memory, but I'm not experiencing any issues or slowdowns or spinning bitch balls of death. Which is funny, because there were a lot of people saying back in late 2020 that these 8GB RAM Macs were going to be e-waste in 3 to 5 years. Supposedly because websites and apps get so much more demanding. So you needed 16GB RAM minimum to future-proof, which I found to be simply not true. Quick disclaimer on that though, this is just my personal laptop. For my 9-to-5 job, my work provided an M1 MacBook Pro with 16GB of RAM, and I do need 16GB minimum for my professional work. I made a video comparing that MacBook to the new M5 MacBook Pro, and it also contains details of my workflow including the apps I use. I'll link it below if you want to watch it. Now I have seen some of the performance improvements from the new Apple Silicon MacBooks, but it just wasn't relevant to me because I have no issues with what I currently have. Let's say I bought a brand new M5 MacBook Air. Am I going to be able to reply to emails faster, watch Netflix easier, or browse the web more efficiently? Probably not, and so far I haven't been convinced. And I feel like a lot of people concentrate on the more demanding stuff, like editing videos or photos, or playing games and comparing the newer Air generations. Again, it's just not relevant to me. If I do need to stitch together some 4K footage from my iPhone that I took in an overseas trip, my M1 handles it just fine. Do I care if it takes like twice as long to export the final video versus the M5 MacBook Air? No, because I'm doing that stuff like 1% of the time. All the new tech like ray tracing or AV1 decoding or faster memory bandwidth, etc. I had to Google what those even mean, and I have a degree in information technology and I work in software. So although it sounds cool on paper, in reality, for me, it doesn't really mean much. Also, if you're enjoying this real life review, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button down below. I've only made a few YouTube videos so far, so hopefully this one isn't boring or anything. Now, one area that has tempted me to upgrade though is the upgrades to the chassis. There was a pretty big jump from the M1 to the M2 back in 2022. And then a few more minor ones all the way up to the current M5, which I've been able to borrow for a couple of weeks from someone so that I can make a few videos on it. I'm sure you're already familiar with some of the differences between this and the M1, so I just wanted to cover a few that stood out for me. Firstly, ports. MagSafe is nice to have, but I already have a USB-C cable for my bed and a USB-C monitor at my work desk. Speaking of external monitors, the M1 can only output to a single monitor, versus the M5, which supports two. Not very relevant to me though, because the M1's Thunderbolt 3-port fully supports my 4K 120Hz ultra-wide Dell monitor. I don't have a dual monitor setup. I made a review on the Dell productivity monitor, by the way. I bought it specifically for my 9-to-5 job as a cloud software consultant. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to watch it. The M5 speakers are also a bit better, but I mostly listen to music and videos with headphones. I did like the improved webcam on the M5 though, because I frequently FaceTime or record happy birthday videos for family and friends overseas. But by far the most tempting upgrade is the fact that the M5 comes with double the RAM, and more importantly, double the storage compared to the M1. I've already talked about RAM. I don't necessarily need more than 8GB, but I definitely want more storage. 256GB is just too small for me now. I have to be really careful about what I keep on my MacBook. I like to download the TV shows I'm currently watching to my MacBook's SSD. Sometimes they take up a lot of space, and every now and then I'll download a game to play. From the brief time I've been able to use the M5 with the larger 512GB SSD, it seems to have resolved most of the storage pain points for me. And kind of leading on from that point, eventually I will have the same issue with the battery. Right now, they're fairly comparable from what I can tell. Even Apple claims they have the same battery life on their website. I found the M1 lasted maybe an hour and a half less versus the M5. But my M1's battery is almost 6 years old at this point. According to the system report, its cycle count is fairly low, so I still have about 80-something% of the maximum capacity available. It should be way more consumed than this, to be fair. This is quite unusual for a 6-year-old MacBook. But I use my work laptop 90% of the time, and my Air is often connected to power when I use it at my desk. But still, battery life will continue to get worse and worse. I'll eventually have to either replace the battery or finally consider an upgrade. But overall, yeah, I haven't been convinced to upgrade from my M1 MacBook Air yet. It still does everything I need it to. At the end of the day, what do I need from a laptop? Like, what's the core function? Battery life, portability, everyday performance. And in those factors, the difference is just not that big when compared to a shiny new one. So I'd rather just save the money and, I don't know, buy my cat, Mr. Steve, a new cat tree. Steve seems to like it, so I guess I made the right decision. By the way, if you're interested in my 9-to-5 desk setup, it used to look like this before I gave it a makeover last year. I link my desk setup video here and also down below if you'd like to watch it.